Today we're going to talk about how we use hypnosis to help Melody make $30,000 very quickly. And so Melody came to me, she was a trader at the time that we were talking, and she was also interested in expanding the healing work that she's already been doing. So when she reached out to me, she mentioned clearing herself of old energies. There was a few things going on in her body, a few things in her health that I won't get into, but stagnant energies from the past, and some tricky relationships that she was navigating, exiting a previous career and stepping into a new path. And what she knew in this moment was that she didn't want to go back to her old self. She didn't want to go down in consciousness, because you have to realize if you're making a choice to stay the same, you're making a choice to go backwards. There's no such thing as that stagnation in the middle. You're either progressing or you're regressing. And so in our conversation, and she clarified where she was at energetically. And also I want to point out, when I asked if she'd ever been hypnotized, I get this very often where someone says, not sure if I can, I feel like I'm too hyper aware. You might be thinking you're too hyper aware, you might be thinking you're too ADHD, you might be an overthinker, and I want to tell you that none of that actually matters. Hypnosis is not something that you can or can't do. How many windows does your bedroom have? How tall is the fence in your garden? If you know that, you are going into trance. That is an unproductive trance, but it is still a trance. Hypnosis is simply an aspect of our psychology. There's two parts to our brain, the conscious mind and the subconscious mind. And the problems we're holding, even though we don't want them, the fears we have, even though we know they're holding us back, are sat in the subconscious mind. And so this is what we released for Melody. There's something called the subconscious success thermostat. And the thing is, wherever your subconscious success thermostat is set at, you will not exceed that level of success. For example, if you think of it like a thermometer, like a thermostat in your home, if that temperature is set to 20 degrees Celsius, it's trying to keep a nice cool environment. When you start, the room temperature increases. When it moves towards 21 degrees, 23, 24, 25, the thermostat, in other words, your subconscious mind, is reading that, and it goes, oh, we are beyond what we are designed to be at. We need to dampen. We need to slow things down. We need to sabotage. But it's not viewing this as sabotage. The brain is a purpose-based machine. Anything it does because it believes it is serving you. We have this subconscious success thermostat set to a certain level because that's what you have been programmed to believe is what's best for you at a subconscious level. Consciously, you may know it's not. Consciously, you may know that you have a lot more to give, but subconsciously, this is where your brain believes that it needs to be at. And so it's only by rewiring that we can shift our results permanently and rapidly, because otherwise any progress you do make will be dampened by your subconscious mind. Subconscious, meaning below your conscious awareness. We make millions, hundreds of millions of subconscious actions every single day. Those are actions that you aren't even aware of. Pumping your heart, taking your breaths, and all of these contribute. Those are just a few examples, but your reaction to certain situations. For example, those with social anxiety are 8 times more likely to interpret a neutral stranger's face as a negative face. Subconsciously, the conditioning, the programming, forms emotions, responses, fears, and beliefs about what they're seeing in front of them that the average person does not see. You are in your situation because your brain sees that things have to be this way, according to your programming. It's not because they actually have to be this way. It's because your brain sees and believes that it needs to be this way, even though that's not necessarily true. And so coming in, Melody definitely wasn't making that much from trading. She knew that she had a lot of potential in it. She knew that she could be doing more. She knew that it was an area of growth, and it had been an area of possibility for a long time. But for her, her brain wasn't letting her step into that, right? It's like the solutions we need have been here this whole time, but our brain will or won't let us see them. It can hold us back depending on where that thermostat is set at. So if we have a thermostat set at 20 degrees of success, if you start to exceed that, you'll experience self-sabotage. That could be through blindness of better possibilities. It could be direct, you go really, really hard and then you become really, really lazy, or many other means. Doom scrolling is one of our most common that we're all going through right now. So what we actually do is, what you'll find you swing back and forth between is things go great, you get a glimpse of this potential. Melody knew that there was more for her there, but that was outside of what her subconscious was currently programmed for. So you return, and often we drop off below the setting of our success thermostat. And that's when our subconscious actions have to kick us into gear. You ever fall off the bandwagon and it's not until things get so bad that you're like, oh shit, I should really do something about this. I should have done something about this 2 weeks ago, 2 months ago, but I'm only doing it now. And then you get back to your base level again. Your minimum and your maximum and your average are only there because of the way you've been programmed, not necessarily because that's what's right for you. What you believe is normal and easy or difficult, however much possibility you believe in right now, you don't believe in that because it's true. You believe in that because that's what you've been programmed so far to accept. But once you raise the standard that you accept, things change very, very rapidly. Things changed very rapidly for Melody. So let's get into how we actually achieve this in the hypnosis session. And so with Melody's session, there's some details which I'll keep private, but our session theme was wealth, pleasure, joy, and bliss. We spoke on the phone for about 40 minutes before her session to go over the details. Notice how this is not focused on the negative. It's not focused on what she doesn't want. It's only focused on what she wants. Because life is like a vacuum. If you aren't full of great things, that space has to be taken up. So it will be taken up by negative things. And it's not necessarily because the negative things should be there and truly are part of our life. It's just that there's empty space that has to be filled, and it will be filled. So if you aren't intentionally filling it with the positive, it'll be filled with the negative. So just a little session outline. I always start with some breath work, depending on the person. You have to change physiological state as well. This isn't just passive. This is something that we do together to make a permanent change in the way that your brain and body is wired. From there, I took Melody through an eyelid deepener, and we did this session over Google Meet. We did it online. I then took her through finger deepener and the staircase and Paul McKenna deepener, which are really great for a virtual session. This is the process of switching off or occupying the conscious mind, switching off the conscious filter in a way that allows us into the subconscious mind. Melody was an overthinker. Melody's brain races at a mile a minute, and we're not trying to silence the mind. We're not trying to be a Tibetan monk in a cave with absolutely no distractions and just sitting in peaceful bliss and harmony amongst beautiful, tranquil sounds, we're actually directing this chaos, directing this massive momentum. You're a high achiever because of this zest that you have. We're trying to harness that, not eradicate it. We moved into the physical healing, which I'm not going to touch on today, and then into the dominate your day script. And this is essentially where we raised the thermostat setting. This is where we elevated how her brain views herself and what her brain views her minimum, her average, and her maximum as, because that is what determines the results you are getting. Your brain is a conservation of energy machine. It will always revert to its minimum because it's trying to save every calorie that it can. Some people go through a lot of struggle, so much struggle that they end up on the street. Some people struggle to provide a home for their family. Some people struggle to provide a mansion for their family. It comes down to what your minimum is. What will you tolerate no less than? And this is a wild anecdote, but coming into Australia, drugs are so much more common here. But what you'll find, I've worked with multiple ex-drug dealers, and they're now in healthy, legitimate businesses, but their minimum got raised so much because they were moving 10,000, 20,000, 30,000 a week worth of drugs, that those numbers just became their minimum. For some of us, our minimums are in the hundreds. For children, the minimums in the ones and the tens. Others of us have minimums in the thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, or millions. And it's just how our brain sees things. These drug dealers' brains never see money the same way because they get into a circumstance making preposterous amounts of money that makes a new standard. It raises the thermostat. And so even when things change, their starting point might be $5,000 a week. Whereas for someone else, that's the goal, that's their maximum. Where's your minimum? Where's your maximum? And that's going to determine the level of success you'll be experiencing in your life right now. So to get into this script, very basic instructions. We want to make sure you're calm, distraction free. I'll take you through breathing at this phase. And then here, there's some deepeners. I'm starting to give them conscious mind instructions so that it's busy. Not so that it's switched off, just so that it's doing something. It's the effort, it's the intention of doing something that we need. It's not the successful achievement of that thing. And even intentionally ignoring it is still putting effort into it. So even someone who's resisting hypnosis gets hypnotized because it's not necessarily effort, but it's not necessarily focus. It's awareness of these instructions. It's the fact that they're going on and your conscious mind knows they're going on that occupies it, because the conscious mind has very little bandwidth and we can fill that very easily. And once it's at capacity, it can't do its filtering job. It can't do its job of protecting what goes in or out of the subconscious. And that's where we have free reign to make changes. You're not protecting your old bullshit anymore. You're finally ready to let go of it. And so as we progress, we move into the eyelid deepener, favorite part of the script, and future realization. Now this is all abbreviated notes from the session, but this is where we're really making it real to the mind and body. There's a psychological principle called the law of facilitation, and the law of facilitation states that the more times a neuron is traveled, the more times a thought impulse goes through it, the easier it becomes for that route to continue to be traveled in the brain. And so by dedicating myelin, and this is what lines the nerves, this is what makes the connections thick, Right now, you have thick, myelinated mental connections to crap and what you don't want in life. But by shifting this psychologically, we can instantly build massive, strong, permanent connections that connect you to the highest version of yourself, not this insecure, self-doubt, worried, low-level version of yourself. And then we move into the confidence activation, a few other healing elements that I don't want to touch on in this video. Reawakening sequence, you're not actually going to sleep. You can't not wake up. Don't know where that comes from. There's a bunch of heebie-jeebie stuff around hypnosis. So I really hope that I've cleared some of that up today. If you have more questions, if you'd like to know how this applies to you, listen to the emotional release hypnosis audio that is on this channel as well. DM me the word grow and I'll reach out to you. You can ask a question along with that message. I'll personally answer it, help you understand how hypnosis could work in your situation. I run group events where you can have a breakthrough like this in less than 2 hours. Maybe this next one will be 3 because I'm loving the events. Everyone's energy is really good. It's a community for you to step up to your best self, surrounded by other people at the same time. Because what are you waiting for? How much pain is it going to take for you to shift what you've known needs changing for years, for decades? What's it going to take for you to stop playing small? And how quickly could you change that? If you want to change that rapidly, come and see me one-on-one. DM me for a one-on-one session. If you want to change this month, we've got monthly events going on every single month. I'll see you at my office. I'm down in Coolangatta, Gold Coast, Australia. I do a lot of online sessions as well. About 50% of my work is online. Yes, it works the exact same. I didn't explain any physical steps here. You've looked at words the whole time. Words work whether I'm right here, right next to you, or whether I'm communicating them through the screen to you, because you've received this, have you not? I really hope you've enjoyed this video. Any questions, comment down below, send me a DM. Please share this video with a friend who you know could get help by improving their own thinking. I look forward to seeing you again soon.